Hello and welcome to the next lesson in Spiral 1. So today we're looking at perimeter and area of 2D shapes, and the goal is to be able to understand perimeter and area and be able to calculate them for 2D shapes. So you will want to have the EQAO formula sheet that we provided. You want to be using it. So for each of the following shapes, we're just looking for perimeter and area. So we have a rectangle. So the perimeter formula that you will have on your sheet will look like that. So perimeter is 2 times your width and length. Doesn't matter which side you pick. We need to do substitution. So when you're substituting your W, you need to use brackets. Substituting your length. Make sure you use your brackets. Then we do our multiplication next. So 2 times 6 is 12. And 2 times 8.5 is 17. So the perimeter for this shape is 29 feet. So there is your perimeter. Also from your formula sheet, area is length times width. We've already labeled them. Length is 8.5. Width is 6. And when you do your multiplication, you'll get a value of 51. And now it's going to be square feet squared, because it is an area. All right, so there are 2 answers for the rectangle. So you're just using your formula sheet that is provided and getting used to using that, the formulas that are provided by EQAO. So you'll have that formula sheet for tests as well. So for a circle, perimeter, we call it circumference, and there are 2 formulas. We have pi d or 2 pi r, so we need to decide what information we're given. When we know the distance from the center to the outside, that is a radius, so we are going to use 2 pi r. I lost my pi. So circumference equals 2 pi, and the radius becomes a 4. Now, you can multiply the 2 and 4 together to get 8 pi inches, and I'm quite all right with you leaving it in that format, but you can also multiply it by 3.14. That's what perimeter is, and it doesn't matter to me what format you leave it in, so you'd end up with approximately 25.12 inches. So there is our perimeter or circumference. Area of a circle is pi r squared. So pi and the radius is 4 squared. So we'd end up with 16 pi inches squared. Or again, if you want to use your calculator and move it into decimal format, 16 times 3.14, we get 50.24 square inches. And either format is acceptable when you're doing your calculations. All right. Moving on to the next shapes. So you are responsible for a triangle. So perimeter of the triangle, remember it's the distance around the outside. So perimeter, do it right here, is going to be length 1 plus length 2 plus length 3. So we're just adding our 3 values together, and again, it doesn't really matter which is length 1 and 2 and 3 and so on. So just make sure you get all of them written in there. So if we go through and we add them, 7.1 plus the 6.3 plus 9.9, we get 23.3 yards. All right, so there's your perimeter. Area is base times height divided by 2. So your base is the bottom of the triangle. So I'm going to use the 9.9. Height is your altitude. It has to be given by that little right angle symbol, so we know that's the height at 4.5. Divide that by 2. We just need to punch that through a calculator at this point, and you should get 22.28 yards squared. All right, so there are your answers for perimeter and area. So again, you're just using your formula sheet to find those values. Last is parallelogram. So perimeter, basically it's the distance around the outside. That's what the definition of perimeter is, right? So our 4 sides, just make sure you get them all. Because it's a parallelogram, we know that these 2 sides are equal, and these 2 sides are equal. So we'd have 7 plus 11 plus 7 plus 11. So we'd have 22 and 14, so we had an answer of 36 kilometers for our perimeter. So there is our perimeter for that shape. And our area, again, looking at your formula sheet, is base times height. The height is provided right here. Again, that right angle symbol is associated with height in our shapes. So our base is 11, and our height is 5. So our area is 55 square kilometers. All right, so there is the area. So in this particular section, we're just reviewing, it should be a review of grade 7 and 8 shapes. There shouldn't be anything new here, except for my final example. It says the area of a triangle with a base, so we know our base is, we know our area. So we know the formula for area of a triangle. Area equals base times height divided by 2. If we plug that in, it tells us that the area is 88.5. We know the base is 7.5. We don't know the height divided by 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify the calculation. We can do this calculation. So we're just going to use our one step and two. This is really a two-step question. The first one is to do that division. So if we do 7.5 divided by 2, we get 3.75 h. How do we get h by itself? Well, we know that in this case here, we have multiplication because there's no symbol in between the number and the variable. So the reciprocal or the inverse operation would be division. So we are going to divide both sides by 3.75. What that does, 3.75 divided by 3.75, they become 1 or cancels out. So you're left with h, and then we just need to plug that in to the other side. Oops, 3.75, and we get 23.6 centimeters. So therefore, the height is 23.6 centimeters. All right. So that'll be the challenging. You get to use some of your 1- and 2-step algebra skills in some of the word problems for this particular section, and also practicing your substitution. So if you have any trouble using the formulas or any trouble getting the answers, make sure you ask your teacher for help. Good luck.